I mean, as a child, like I kind of never really paid attention to any of the dirty jokes and Dan Snyder shows. Actually, yo, I need a round of applause for Dan Snyder because like some of them things in those shows, it's like I never caught on to until as you get older and you look at some of the remakes. Because it's like time to time, I might go back to check throwback shows, and especially like Victorious, it was a lot of dirty jokes or like female exposure, especially like wearing skirts and stuff like that. Teenagers, some of us didn't really think about stuff like that, but Dan's been doing this for a long time. Dan Snyder's been doing Nickelodeon for almost 30 years, so that's something that I would never take away from him. Like most of those shows are iconic, like things like iCarly, Kenan and Kel, Drake and Josh, Victorious. Like those are shows that I grew up watching, so it's like I would never see Dan Snyder as that. You would hear his voice in some of the shows, but it's like the allegations of feet and anything like that. I mean, it is kind of weird. Like at the end of the day, every person has their fetish, even if it's not exposed. It's exposed differently. With Dan, like with these recent allegations, and now I believe like they have a whole documentary about Dan Snyder. And it's crazy because everybody who's getting put on these allegations, I feel, and it's like I said, we're going to get into it later, but it's like I feel like it should be a time period. Like I did watch Alexa Nicholas. She's played on Zoe 101, right? Another iconic show. It's like I'm friends with Kyle Massey too. I know that Christopher Massey was on the show. They really never had anything bad to say about Dan. The only weird thing that I would say as a child that I probably experienced is like, when Zoe 101, I did see magazines in the stores of like Jamie Lynn Spears, like she's pregnant. They really didn't know who the father was at that time. So it's like you raise speculations when you get older. You're like, wow. And, maybe Dan probably did pay a lot of the actors off, not to speak on that. But now it's 2024. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like I said, the things that did happen, I felt like a lot of the kids, I'm not sure how in the 90s or early 2000s but me being a actor myself, I know like a lot of people, you are supposed to be entitled to Entertainment Protection Act. Means that your agent or your guardian, they are supposed to protect you. Anything that goes on set, they have to know about it. A lot of these stuff was kept behind closed doors. So would Dan be guilty in that aspect? Yes, if that wasn't on record. But you just watching the show, you're just being that kid looking at the television like these guys are happy, and that wasn't the case. Look at Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes said that she lost her mind. Jeanette McCurdy said she lost her mind. And even watching Victorious, it's like I said, the shows that Dan has made has been very iconic, but it's also dirty jokes. Like I think I watched the episode of Victorious. They made like a Breakfast Club parody, right? It was like a tad bit of racism, but it was kind of funny. It was a character of Robbie Shapiro. You know how like in the Breakfast Club, they fixed up Bender's hair. They fixed up Robbie's hair in the episode. And then they said, yeah, you like those black curls in your hair. He said, I love black curls. And, Leon Thomas, who's a songwriter, he just looked in the show. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm starting to pick up on more of the dirty or, adult humor in the show. Not saying Nickelodeon doesn't have a history of that. Look at SpongeBob. Like shows like SpongeBob, I kind of knew it was taking an adult aspect in like the early 2000s. Remember the cursing episode? Or like exposing being naked and stuff like that. So it's like Nickelodeon is half kid, half adult, but it's like I said, go back to Dan Snyder. What else can you really take? Like Dan has already accumulated millions of dollars. I'm not saying this, if he is guilty, I'm pretty sure he paid them off. But at the same time, the people who did take the money, why are you waiting 30 plus years later to speak up? Like I seen Angelique Bates, and I do feel for her, but it's like it's 30 years too late. And it's like I said, it's you wait until these people get really old, or it's like their money probably dried up, and I'm not trying to say that to sound spiteful or anything, but it's like, is this like a money grab? Because it's like, I probably never seen Dan. Not saying, yeah, he did do creepy things, but if you guys knew these allegations, why wasn't it like stopped then and there? Like Jeanette McCurdy read the book, like Jeanette McCurdy, but even shows like the kid friendly shows, toddler shows, Selena and Demi, when they first came into the scene on the PBS network, they never had a problem. And that, I believe by that time it was the Entertainment Kids Act. Like even if you look at David Joyner, like it was things that he couldn't say. David Joyner, he was the costume for Barney at a point in time. He couldn't talk about being a tantric sex therapist, so a lot of that stuff to kids. So whatever the fetish was, you couldn't really do that. So that's why I said it's kind of weird. But I'm hoping that these people who are putting these allegations up, that they are compensated or actually get healed from it. Not taking anything from Dan, but justice does have to be served some way, somehow. But it's like I said, those shows, they are gonna stay with me, but now I'm gonna have to just look at it in a different light.